Rosemary. Quite literally, the mother of all herbs. If you followed along from the beginning, you've taken fresh cuttings to make new plants for free. Then, once rooted, potted up those young plantlings for both sale and personal use. Now, after a year, our cuttings are ready for larger pots or even their forever homes. So let's look at what I do to set them up for maximum success. If you bought a small rosemary plant and it's in need of repotting, the methods explained in this video will work for you as well. When moving a typical small rosemary plant along to a larger pot, don't go less than 5 gallons. These are large perennial plants that will outgrow even this size within about 2 years. The particular plants that I'm potting up today are for a client's patio. So I'm lining them with newspaper to let the water out, but keep that soil in. Repotting rosemary into larger containers is a perfect opportunity to reuse some of that old potting soil that you have lying around. With such a large pot, using a gallon or two of the old mix on the bottom is a great way to save time and money. Place the plant inside the larger pot to get an idea of the depth that you need and adjust your soil height accordingly. Before I pot up this rosemary plant, let me show you 2 secrets that I use to grow ridiculously healthy rosemary. These guys are pretty versatile, hardy plants in most conditions, but rosemary really excels at a pH of around 6 to 6.5. That is slightly acidic. So, if you have it, and I always do, sprinkle in about 10 to 15 grams of elemental sulfur to the bottom of the pot before planting. If you don't have it, blueberry or rhododendron dry mix will also work. Secondly, rosemary hates wet feet, i.e. standing in water, but it does like moist conditions. So, to ease the transition of replanting, pre-soak your large pot to give those exposed roots the best chance to hit the ground running. With your pot soaking for about an hour, we're now ready to plant. Gently coax out that rosemary plant without tugging on that stem overly hard. Tap it on the edge of a table if it seems to be stuck. Once out, check that root ball for binding. If it's relatively loose and pliable like the one here, don't stress about it and just go ahead and plant it intact. Simply take your favorite potting mix and plant all around the rosemary, taking care not to bury any living leaves. Compress the soil all around it to plant it up nice and snug. As with any large pot, but particularly those with rosemary inside, you're going to want to mulch to get maximum results. I tend to use coarse straw with these guys, and they always respond well to it. Pack it on good and thick, at least 2 inches. The mulch itself will mitigate evaporation, as well as moderate extreme temperatures. These are very, very important things for plants growing in pots. Finally, I always give it a watering from above to set that mulch into place. Let's quickly do another one for a visual recap. Rosemary likes the soil slightly acidic, between 6 and 6.5 pH. The easiest thing to do is to add about 10 grams of elemental sulfur to the bottom of the pot. Don't tug on the rosemary stems to remove them from their smaller pots, and always check to see if that root ball needs loosening up. Add your favorite potting mix around the plant without burying any active stems, and compress the new mix down to complete the planting. Mulch heavily, at least 2 inches thick, and water from above, even though we pre-soak the soil to settle in that mulch. Rosemary is a monster herb. When grown from single stem cuttings or even purchasing small plants at the garden center, it will quickly outgrow its digs within a season. It's a woody perennial that never goes dormant, never stops growing. As such, it needs to be treated and grown a little bit differently than your annual herbs. But by observing the steps that we've shown here today when potting up your young rosemary, you'll be set up for maximum growth for years to come. Make sure to check out the other rosemary videos on my channel, and if you know of a friend or family member who's obsessed with rosemary like you and I, make sure to share it with them as well. Hey, thanks for watching, guys. If you're getting value in this and the other series that I'm doing on YouTube, hit those like, share, and subscribe buttons if you'd be so kind, and I'll see you in the next video.